Great, thanks Peter. So our final speaker this morning is Niall Brien, who's the Teaching and Learning Support Librarian at RCSI Library. So welcome, Niall.
Thanks, Alan. Good morning, everyone. So I'm the Teaching and Learning Support Librarian at RCSI Library, which, as you may know, is a health sciences-focused library of about 4,000 students. And I've been in teaching and learning role for past kind of 5 years. And it's kind of got me reflecting on the amount of content I probably created over those years, and in terms of originally a time management point of view, but increasingly kind of a sustainability aspect around digital footprint. How much of that content could I reuse, could I repurpose, could I recycle? So I provide, along with colleagues, support to instructional information skills support to the programs for academic faculties, but I also coordinate generic information skills sessions called Library Bite-Size, which predate me. But we've kind of structured these as 10, 15, 20-minute sessions based on developing key skill around information literacy or research skills. So basically, how these are managed is there's a timetable that goes out at the start of each semester, inviting any health sciences student or any student to attend one of these sessions. And initially they were in person, but I'll get to that in a second. But the output currently is that they are turned into digital objects, with a lot of the content being repurposed for other instances. So just in terms of the background of this, pre-2020, they used to take place in the library. They were in-person skills, and reflecting on that, there was always a capped attendance on this, might be a small room, and a singular purpose. That instruction was for those people in that room. I might do the same thing the next week. And so certain colleagues, myself, consider perhaps recording these and encouraging kind of virtual attendance. And I suppose the pandemic was the impetus to put that out. And so these were put forward as live tutorials, but I became increasingly interested in the afterlife of these tutorials and being repurposed for other means. So the RCSI adopted this video streaming platform network called Panopto, which is in other colleges as well, I believe, which I'll get to in a second. But just for the purposes of this, I host these generic sessions on the RCSI Panopto site. And we've been doing this since 2020, and there's about, you can see there's about 2,000 views of these, which isn't bad for a college of 4,000 students. And you can get very good analytics through Panopto, far more so than YouTube or any of the other video streaming. And I can see which are the most popular sessions, which are the ones you'd consider running again, or highlighting as a particular digital object. So I started then putting all these recordings on a library channel, and I became quite impressed by the views. So since we started doing this over the 2 years, about 10,000 views, there's about 10,000 views it's climbing towards. And what you can see on Panopto is actually how long people are engaging with those views. So that's 80,000 minutes. So to put that in context, like, that's cumulative. So that's the equivalent of if someone was speaking for 24 hours, it would take them 55 days to get through that content. So that's really an amazing world of instruction that's being put across. So to say a bit about Panopto, it's a video streaming portal. It hosts MP4 videos, originally developed for the colleges because the YouTube videos were used before, and it requires a lot of hosting space. But the way it can be structured is that you can upload basic MP4 files, which are simple video and text files, into the Panopto cloud. That'll develop a unique shareable link that you can forward to users, or you can also embed it on, use an embed code to host it on a libguide or on a website as an embedded video. So you can structure them into folders and share them in that way. So we have particular folders for the generic skills sessions under library bite size. My colleague would have developed research data management videos that under a particular folder. And then different teaching and learning sessions would be under a folder. Also I have an archive folder, so I try not to delete anything. So if there is a session that has kind of aged, I will kind of put that into the archive folder so the MP4 could always be harvested and maybe some part of that could be used for another purpose. So I've been developing a portfolio of videos. So we have these library bites, which are these generic skills, 10 to 15 minutes, sometimes edging towards 20. And the idea is you engage with it and you'd have a key skill at the end of it. Then my colleague designed these shorter videos through Canva, which are 0 to about 2 minutes based on developing a search strategy or how to access things off campus or something like that. And I've also recorded both asynchronous and some live delivered classes as well. So they all kind of have a slightly separate kind of identity to kind of structure into the needs of the user, how much time and engagement they may be willing to use to develop a skill. In terms of designing the videos, we have a kind of a no-frills approach to it, in that we'll put this calendar out that these sessions will happen at this date. And users can attend through Blackboard Collaborate, which is kind of the student version of Zoom that they use for their teaching. And I'll say to the students, I want to record first part of this for 10 to 15 minutes, so I'll do the recording, and afterwards we'll do questions or activities or anything like that. So I'm left with an MP4 video of that base instruction, and then you can use Panopto to edit out any kind of false starts or anything like that. But what I really like is you can see on the right, I'll have a bit of a bigger slide, but you can actually divide videos into particular sections, and you'll see, to use a library metaphor, they're like chapters in a book. So someone can skip ahead to a particular part in the video. You can also embed feedback forms, quizzes, anything like that, or alternative formats as well into any one of those chapters. So they kind of engage with the screen on the right and can skip ahead and do activities on the left. And you're left then with this, with what looks kind of like a nice little sophisticated digital object, but is very much out of the box, just an MP4 recording with divisions and any kind of activities you want to put up. And you can add hashtags to draw attention to it, you can add branding, and add a little two-line description about it. So just two examples of, in terms of retooling. So I was asked to give an Endnote tutorial and on this version of Endnote, and I didn't have one that really fit the bill, but I had 3 of these bite-sized sessions which kind of built towards that knowledge of Endnote. So I was able to take the MP4, the base videos of those, gather them together, and develop a 1-hour Endnote tutorial, which was what was requested. So that took about half an hour, 1 hour, something you might have spent like hours starting again or doing before. So so the take home I'd have for it is that, like, it's if you can keep something in an MP4 in a base file, it can be often be reused to different purposes and edited for that effect. And you might also need to make it a bit bespoke and add in some content, but you can always draw that together with other MP4s, so to be able to develop something new out of something old. And there's always the opportunity to add interactivity or other content through video links. And I'm quite impressed by Panopto, but I don't work for Panopto, so I thought I do use other tools. And there are certain restrictions. Panopto isn't a very good video editor, so for video editing, I'd use Camtasia. If designing a particular tutorial, and really, I think anyone could use this with enough practice. So we have on the right there the kind of draft tutorial that you might go through, and I keep track of all these MP4 videos that might be useful in the past of a few minutes, and then I might drag them down to my slide deck. I would maybe record a 5-minute intro or something like that, something bespoke to the class, but then I'd start dragging down my MP4s that I'd have a generic developing a search strategy. I'd have an example I may have used for another purpose or another class. and maybe some subject resources that I can draw for different places, which would then lead to a draft tutorial or a new object that's made of a lot of stuff that I've done before. So I'll rarely start something from scratch anymore. I'll try and look at what content may have been applied and work with what I have. So just in terms of conclusion, I'm nearly out of time, so that's good. I would try to make content as generic as possible. So I had a lot of time to experiment with this as well, and I've noticed particular mistakes like putting physiotherapy class of 2020 on a slide is obviously going to date. So I think you need to make it as generic as possible while still being useful. If you have a new library management system, obviously you need to update that part of that, but hopefully only part of the presentation. You'd be surprised how much is really useful. I really try and chunk my sessions and really identify if I have a whole idea for something that could be a session. I try to identify it into little blocks, and usually those blocks can be repurposed in other kind of sessions and recorded. And Panopto will allow a very good filing system for that. And it's really hard, I think with e-learning, anyone who's done it, it's very hard to fight the temptation to start everything all over again. But I really think it's very important from all kinds of time management point of view and for sustainability to really take stock of what you have, which to the user is perfectly fine. Most of the time it's you who's being the perfectionist about it. So I've been trying to resist the urge to start from scratch and really take stock of what I have. And then that's just one we did on our catalogue, so it has closed captions for ease of reading. The student can navigate through the different sections on the left, go to a part of the video and take a review quiz and a feedback form at the end. So it's just an example of a finished product. So thanks very much for your attendance.